The Jimbo Fisher effect. You bring in the number one recruiting class of the 2022 recruiting cycle. The top class of 24/7 sports history. You out-recruit Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, NIL, regardless of what Jimbo Fisher or anyone from Texas A&M says. NIL has done Texas A&M well, and Jimbo Fisher hopped on it, took care of it, and he did well there. He took advantage, and he innovated. Well, the effect, the Jimbo Fisher effect, is you do all these things in recruiting, and you start out 3-4, 1-3 in SEC play. Innovation, toughness, grit, things that have been seen in Jimbo's press conferences, things that have been seen in Jimbo Fisher and barking at Nick Saban, his former mentor, and possibly soon-to-be mentor. Him, getting in on NIL, not being afraid of being the villain there. Where do you see that in Texas A&M football? On the field, not off the field, not in the stands, not in the checkbooks, not in the bank accounts of these donors, not in Jimbo Fisher's resume. What about the present on the field? Let's talk about the present and the recent past and the coming future. Not the past, not the whole future outlook of the Texas A&M program and how this number one class can make an impact, because here's the reality, guys. And I'm a guy who loves the Big Ten, who covers the Big Ten, so bear with me as I'm covering what is an SEC program, an SEC head coach, and Southern Territory. Just bear with me. It doesn't matter that you out-recruit Georgia and Bama for one cycle, because Texas A&M's 2023 recruiting class, by my knowledge, is not even top 25, and probably won't be. That doesn't matter when A, you're 3-4, the season is effectively over, you're not going to Atlanta, you're not going to a New Year's Six bowl game. Even if you win out, it's impossible. Your best bet is getting a semi-prestigious or no prestige FBS bowl, winning it and going 9-4, which wouldn't even be Jimbo Fisher's best season. This season's over. And it's very unlikely, if impossible, that Texas A&M is going to win out. You have 5 games left. LSU is a part of that. Ole Miss is a part of that. UMass is an automatic win. Florida, you still play Auburn. Those are the remaining 5 games. I don't think Texas A&M beats LSU. Unlikely they beat Ole Miss. And Auburn and Florida are playing at a similar level that Texas A&M is. The only guaranteed win is UMass. So that leaves a floor of 4-8, probably a ceiling of 7-5, both of which would be considered failures given the fact that Texas A&M started top 10 in the polls and was viewed as a playoff contender. Desmond Howard, who went to the same university that I did about several decades ago. I attend the University of Michigan. Desmond Howard picked Texas A&M to win the national title. And many other media people had them going to the playoff for being in a New Year's Six bowl. They're 3-4. Texas A&M is 3-4. They're not a good football team by any stretch of the imagination. They're just not. They are disgusting on offense. They have the 84th most efficient offense in the country, 20th most efficient defense. Special teams is 16th. Overall, they're the 39th most efficient team in the country. Well, the problem with that is that most SEC teams place in the top 40 of efficiency alone, because the SEC, much like the Big Ten, which I cover, are just good. Like a bad, below-average Big Ten team could be an average, above-average Power 5 team, or a good Division I FBS football program. That's how the Big Ten and SEC operate. Texas A&M, I don't even know what to say. I mean, Josh Pate said it perfectly. Texas A&M against South Carolina basically set themselves up for failure the minute South Carolina returned that kickoff. I mean, the stadium was already loud because it's it's Williams-Brice Stadium, and then it gets even louder. And what that was, Josh Pate used the analogy of gasoline in a pool and Texas A&M just using a flamethrower on it. It's the perfect analogy. So I cite him there because I couldn't come up with a better analogy. But Texas A&M's full season, you know what an analogy that I can come up with? Money doesn't buy happiness. Money doesn't buy success. You know, money may indicate monetary success, but there are other successes in life. If you're religious, if you're Christian like I am, then there's the success of following God's commands, believing in Jesus Christ. If you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, if you're Hindu, if you're a Buddhist, if you're religious, or if you have other priorities in life, even if you're non-religious, there are things that you consider successful outside of the realm of money. Well, Texas A&M is a program that I look at, and where's anything but the monetary success? There's no on-the-field product. Haynes King is 83rd in QBR. He has a 1-to-1 TD-INT ratio. He hasn't even thrown 1,000 yards. Those are like some Spencer Petras, slightly better than Spencer Petras level stats here. It's crazy. And kudos to South Carolina, just to talk about them for a minute. They're 5-2. Shane Beamer, with half the talent that Texas A&M has and half the tenure that Jimbo Fisher has, is 5-2. He's 500 in conference, and South Carolina will probably meet or pass their wins from last season, which I didn't know if they would. I think I had them around the 500 mark, maybe 7-5 mark. But good for South Carolina. I mean, South Carolina, you have Spencer Rattler, Marshawn Lloyd. You have, Will Muschamp just wrecked that program. And through the portal, through recruiting, through talent utilization, South Carolina's, they're trending in the right direction. Shane Beamer has learned, he's looking like his dad in a certain sense right now, building up a program from the ground up and establishing a solid foundation, which is something that Jimbo Fisher has, quite frankly, not done at Texas A&M. Not done at all. A&M was preseason number 6. They're 3-4, 1-3. I had them unranked in my top 25. Now, granted, I was the plebeian who had Nebraska in my top 10, so I'm not going to play the game of who's the better analyst or who's the better predictor here. That's not fair, and it's just not even that it's not fair, it's just not right, period, amen. Preseason predictions are what they are. They really have no leverage, no meaning to a certain degree, but it's important to look at them to see what the people and the media, especially, what they thought versus the actuality. The actuality here is that Texas A&M being at preseason number 6 wasn't even a bold claim. That was expected. I made the prediction that Nebraska was in the top 10 or a solid team and that Scott Frost would be a great coach this year, knowing that there was a chance that that could all fall apart and that they could have a losing season, that they could go 3-9 or 4-8 again. And indeed, they went 1-2 in the first 3 games and Scott Frost was fired. A&M, I thought they'd go, 7-5 or 8-4 was my prediction. They lost so much on defense. Their rankings in the preseason were totally puffed up by that number 1 recruiting class. If they get a recruiting class that's 5th or 10th, they're probably ranked around number 10 or in the top 15, but not number 6. People have forgotten that recruiting classes, they can have some immediate impact, but it takes a year or 2 for all those guys to fully get in the system and in the roster, the starting lineup. They're 3-4. They already have as many losses, or maybe one less loss, than I predicted them to have at the end of the season. And LSU is doing much better than I anticipated them to be. Tennessee was better than I thought they would be. Texas A&M doesn't even play Tennessee, but point stands anyway. There are so many programs in the SEC that have exceeded expectations. And A&M, despite having that number 1 class, despite having supposedly a good staff and a coach that's top 5 nationally, they're among the likes of Auburn, Missouri, Vanderbilt, and Florida. Their offense is lethargic and depressing to watch. It truly is. They haven't scored. They score an average of less than 30 points per game, and their defense, while good, they don't have an Iowa-like defense. They don't have a 2018 Michigan State defense. They don't even have Texas A&M's defense from last year, which was a great defense, because they just don't, because most of that production was gone to the NFL or graduated in certain parts, and because they lost their DC Mike Elko, who's doing a fantastic job right now at Duke and exceeding my predictions for Duke. I had them going like 3-9 or 4-8. They've already surpassed that win expectation, and it's not even the end of the season yet. So A&M, they're not a good football team. They're horrifically inefficient. Their staff and players are inept. They don't give full effort. They just look dead. The program, the team, looks dead. And what sucks if you're an A&M fan, or just it stinks, period, if you're really a college football fan, is Jimbo's buyout. It's close to 9 figures. It's closer to $100 million than it is to $50 million. And maybe the donors will pony up the money. They'll get, they'll fundraise, they'll campaign, and they'll get him fired. But A, that'll destabilize the program. And B, they already spent millions on last year's recruiting class. You're going to fire Jimbo Fisher and let all of those players, not all of them, but a good portion of them, transfer away with the portal? Regardless of how this goes, the best outcome for Texas A&M is that staff changes are made after the season, Jimbo Fisher relinquishes play calling duties, and he hires a legitimate OC who knows how to call a modern offense, and hire better position coaches, better development at quarterback. I mean, Kellen Mond wasn't Johnny Manziel, but he was good. He was a great college QB. Haynes King makes Kellen Mond look like a Heisman player. Same with Max Johnson. I don't think we've even seen Connor Wiegman take the field, but from what I've seen in their spring game very early this season, he didn't look too good either. So I'm a Big Ten guy again, so I don't know exactly the whole inner workings of A&M. I'm not an insider for any program, so I don't know the inner workings of any program, but I am much more familiar with Ohio State, with Michigan, Penn State, Michigan State, Nebraska. I mean, basically every Big Ten team I'm somewhat familiar with. So this is somewhat new territory of me covering the SEC, but seeing A&M go 3-4, 1-3, and Jimbo's contract and the buyout there, it's crazy because A&M might go 5-7. Jimbo Fisher might have a worse 5-year tenure than Kevin Sumlin did, and going 5-7, and he might be retained because of the buyout. That is a story. That is a huge story to follow. And A&M, they host Ole Miss. It's going to be their first home game in over a month. So that away game stretch, listen, it's brutal. Maybe A&M has a chance to win out, and if they do, good. You got to get some momentum heading into the bowl game and heading into the preseason of next year, so you can hire some people and so you can actually utilize that talent, because that talent's good. I mean, Walter Nolan is good. Evan Stewart, freshman who's starting at wide receiver, he's good. There are more D-line guys who've committed to Texas A&M. I mean, their D-line is stacked. It's absolutely stacked. I mean, you got to utilize this talent on defense and on offense. And Connor Wiegman, too. You got to get someone who can develop him into living up to his 5-star potential. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy what's going on at Texas A&M right now. It's insanity. This team, again, ceiling was national champions by most people in the preseason. Even I thought their ceiling could be 11-1 or 10-2. Their ceiling, at the end of the year, we will look back and probably say this team's ceiling was 8-4, 7-5 regular season. Like, it is just not, it's not good. This product is substandard. It's horrible. Let's make an analogy before we close out this video, or not an analogy, but a comparison. You put A&M on the field with Michigan. They lose by like 4 or 5 TDs. Ohio State, 5 or 6 TDs. Penn State, they lose by 10 to 20 points. So let's just say 2 to 3 TDs. Maryland, same thing. Illinois would bully them the same way they did Wisconsin. Purdue would beat them. Wisconsin maybe would be comparable or a toss-up. Same thing with maybe Minnesota. Even then, maybe it's Big Ten bias just slightly. But, I mean, A&M's just not good. Their wins are Sam Houston State, who's an FCS school, a Miami team that had 8 turnovers to Duke and is 3-4, and an Arkansas team who doesn't look too good, and Arkansas blew that game. 2 fumbles in inopportune moments and a missed field goal with 90 seconds. It doesn't take away the fact that A&M beat them. It's not what I'm saying at all. That counts. The point is A&M has beaten no one, and the rest of their schedule isn't a collection of nobodies. Ole Miss is not a nobody. LSU especially is not a nobody. LSU might beat Alabama. I'm not even kidding you. They have the potential to beat Alabama. And it's not looking good in College Station. So if you're an A&M fan, or you're a college football fan, or you're a subscriber of my channel, you're probably a Big Ten fan, tell me down below what you think of this. What you think Texas A&M should do with Jimbo Fisher, the moves that you think should be made in the preseason, and in the postseason rather. Tell me what you think down in the comments below, and that's where we'll finish this video. If you liked it, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Click the notification bell so you can get notified when I go live tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Share this video around. And if you're listening via Spotify, please follow the channel. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye.